So this is our proposal to you for this labor agreement, and we are putting these economic benefits and changes on the table in conjunction with the context for our efforts to structure a new model for the way that the OPO reviews police oversight, but in recognition of the immediate priority that we need to continue to move forward with recruiting and hiring new personnel, bringing them into the department, getting them trained, putting them on the street. And that's why we believe a 4-year contract is in the best interest of your members, our city government, our citizens, and so forth. We are proposing a 4% base wage change starting in January. If I remember correctly, the current contract has a January starting date for the base wage changes, and so we've tracked that. We're proposing the following year for 2% in the anniversary of that January increase, another 2% in year 3, and another 2% in the 4th year of the labor agreement. And we've got our transparent annual numbers and the 4-year cumulative cost of those base pay changes. In addition, because of the focus that we have on bringing people in, getting individuals trained, putting them on the street, and restoring staffing in APD, we're proposing an FTO increase from $175 to $200 a month to take place in April of 2023, and that shows that in the year 1 and 2 costs. We're also proposing shift differential stipend to increase by $25 up to $325 in April of 2023 with the respective costs there. We have the offset or reduction in the mental health certification in year 3. Because of the objective of the department, we're moving toward having everybody in the department with the mental health officer certification. And so instead of having incentive pay for that, that's just one of the things that are part of the job requirements. And then it shows the total 4-year cumulative cost of the agreement. We have analyzed the market. As you know, you're familiar with the market study. We have looked at the other compensation from cities throughout the state that have implemented additional changes during the time that we've been here in the bargaining cycle. And we believe that this keeps the city of Austin competitive, keeps us in the range of the top of market definition that we've used in the past. And we want to move forward and see if we can't make a deal on money and get these other issues resolved so that we can go forward and restore some stability, have consistency in the expectations of personnel. And so that's our pay proposal. We'd be glad to answer questions about this. We have a draft of the wages and benefits article, which we're finalizing, and I believe it's ready to send. Is that correct? Any other changes or modifications?
I think so. It will be within the hour.
It will be soon.
Okay. Are we ready, Mr. Park? All right. And I'll make my own personal deals. The president can say what he wants to say. I find your economic offer, it's insulting. It's insulting. It doesn't change anything. It's a wage increase that's substantially lower than even the cost of living. We've already told you that your market study, if you're paying, let's say, $10 an hour, but you can't hire any workers for $10 an hour, well, then you got to raise the money. This offer will continue a decline in recruiting and retention, and Austin is at a tipping point. And you can look around the country at the articles, and people reach a point at which they can't get back from. They're down thousands of people. And you're not going to fix it by saying, we're going to give you a 10% over the next 4 years, but inflation's 7%. Even assume it goes back down to 5. No one's going to say, I'm going to come here When I just did a deal in Beaumont, the city council just signed off yesterday. I realize it's a smaller place, but a lot poorer place. And they're getting compressed wages down. Some officers are getting 15 and 20% down at the level where we're trying to keep them from quitting and putting more money on hiring. It's going to be over 16% cumulative in Beaumont. San Antonio came off of more than a 16% raise, and that council approved that, and that's helped them slow down people quitting and being able to help them in retention. It's not a realistic offer. We're here to bargain. I'll accept it as your proposal, and whenever the next scheduled meeting is, we'll show up at that, and we're here to bargain over it. But today, that didn't show anything of which you're in an expedited position to get a deal. You're not. So if you want a deal, then we need to have a real discussion about money. I think we've given you a pretty well thought out plan. We think it helps to keep those young officers from quitting on us and going to, every neighboring city. And it will give the chief the ability to go out and bring young men and women into the police department and say, we pay the best because we demand the most. It is the most observed and scrutinized police department in the state and one of the top in the nation. That's fine, but that comes at a price of who we have to recruit and who we have to keep. So I would say I appreciate it. I don't think you stop for a moment and you couldn't be serious that you think that people are going to stay here when every major neighboring city is offering more than that. So I think we're done for the day, and we'll see you at the next bargaining session, and we'll work on these things. And hopefully we'll come to a deal. We're here to get a deal.
We want to get a deal. I've said this more than once. Like, I could agree to lots of stuff conceptually here at the table. It's important that we're able to get a deal that I can pass our membership, that I can get past our membership. And last week, when I asked this team to kind of join me on this ride, to figure out, hey, is there a way to get an expedited contract? Is there a way that we could jump through some of these hurdles? Some of these folks, they're here, right? But they didn't. They weren't they weren't as on board then as they are today. And so, recognizing that we have, it's just a different world that our people are living in today than any other time that we've ever negotiated a contract in the history of the APA in the city of Austin. Like, trying to make sure that we get this thing right, because the last thing that I want to do is to TA something and then one of the sides vote it down. And so, I want us to be under contract. I don't want us to fall out of contract. It's not a desire that I have in the least bit. I just don't know that that package gets us there with our membership. I don't believe that I could take conceptually the deal that we have structured with all the things that we have in our membership's mind given up, and get it passed with a pay package like that. We want to get a deal. That's.
We appreciate that attitude. We'll keep working together and listening to each other and trying to figure out where it works. We understand it's tough.
Have you set a session? I know we'd blocked some dates for November 1st, and then we have another date in November and at least two in December.
Yeah, we haven't canceled any of those.
No, I'm holding them, so I would assume our next session would be November the 1st.
Tomorrow.
No, tomorrow's not November 1st, is it?
No, we have scheduled for tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah, but I'm not coming back to this unless you plan to go back and come back with a real wage offer. Otherwise, we'll see you on the 1st. This was extended in a hope to get a deal. Obviously, that's not what you're giving us won't do it.
Well, and we're prepared to be here tomorrow and to keep moving
Well,
toward a solution.
we're not on a game plan that this can be done by Friday. It's not going to be done by Friday, or you'd have brought a real wage offer in today. So we don't have time and expedite it for nickel-dime proposals. We're willing to move in bold moves, but this isn't if you'd come in and we'd been within some point or two, then we'd think, okay, we have a deal, or can get a deal. There's no way to get a deal this week from your position, and we're not going to counter. We gave you a fair offer, and you're not within 10 miles of that offer. So I'd like to see you on November the 1st, and we'll continue. You got the same council sitting here until January. We're not on a timeline. We could settle in one day, we can settle in next year. But we're here to bargain, and we think you've bargained on issues, and we are moving it. But we're not moving at a pace to get through the rest of this agreement. So it's your call. You're the president, but
I know that we've got a lot of work to do with our membership, because our phones have already been blowing up since we stepped out in the hallway with this, with people that are viewing this and stuff. So, and I know that they're going to be angry about this, and obviously, and so we've got a lot of work to do with that as well. And if your phones aren't blowing up on that side of the table, from the folks with the department and stuff like that, then that are insulted by this, is just reality hasn't hit you on the dire straits that we're in this organization, the manpower issues and retention and everything else.
So I don't see how delay gets us into a better position.
we're sitting here, if you want to come back with a real wage offer, but I'm not going to show up tomorrow and you say, well, how about 3? Well, way before. I'm not countering that offer. So put a real money on the table and we'll continue discussing. But we hadn't even heard your reply to 16. We got 10 other articles of which you've had for a year and haven't even bothered except say no. I'm okay with you switching and saying yes, but somebody's going to have to start saying yes.
Part of it is about respect and respecting the time. We don't get paid for doing this job. All of us have our 40 hours that we have to put in a week, some of us 60 hours. It just depends on what you're doing. In addition to this, in addition to kids, families, all of that stuff, and I get it, but it's very disrespectful because we've been here since November. We've been here since January. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, this becomes an emergency. And so we have to sit here and beg the question, what's been going on for the last however many months? And now it's an emergency, but it's not really our emergency with that proposal. That does not create an emergency for me to get something done. But what is an emergency and what is important are my people that work for me, because I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. My family that I have to take care of, and all of these folks that take care of their people at work. And it just really comes across as being very disrespectful use of our time in this process.
You need to caucus?
Yeah, well, we certainly need to have a discussion and then we'll respond.
Well, our intent's to be here on November the
We're gonna
1st.
Be here tomorrow.
We're not,
So-
I'm not coming tomorrow.
Well, I've heard that.
We'll be here November 1st.
But
You're welcome to
that's the
call me
first-
tonight.
That's the first we were aware of that, so let us.
No, you were aware of it, Lowell, when you put that offer on the table.
I was not aware that we weren't gonna come back and continue our
We're not
discussions
going
tomorrow.
to reach a fake deadline. It's not our deadline. You have a deadline. I understand. We don't. We're here to bargain. We got all the way to March.
Okay.
And we're prepared to do that. And we're not arguing bargaining in bad faith, because on other issues, we are slowly reaching a deal. But there's so much undone by the surface bargaining we've been sitting through for the last 6 months. Everybody's peddling around, not wanting to move, and now we're moving. Okay, if you want to move quickly, you got to make it move, and you're not going to do it like, well, I'll put this, and maybe they'll come back with this, and I'll come back. It's not. So if you're not willing to get over where we're at on the wages we work through and think we have to sell and compete, then there's no point in otherwise. We get it. I think we'll get a deal before the end of the year. I hope so. We're not going to get it Thursday or Friday unless you're planning to come back and make a bold move and put real money on the council gave themselves 40%. You gave all the city workers 4%, and you put 4 on, but you're hemorrhaging police officers. And the cost to replace them is astronomical in this world. It's not just Austin's problem. The whole country is, people just don't want to do this job, so we have to pay, and then we have to get the type of person that will work in this community and will do it the way the citizens want it done. We're doing it, but we're not going to do it by making a substandard wage offer that'll put them further behind their competitors. So, well, you have my decision. I'll be here on November 1st.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is that, because you just used the term or the phrase, put them further behind the other cities.
Yes.
Not behind. How can you believe you're behind the other cities?
I can.
San Antonio's
Yeah.
pay raise catches up some with Austin.
That's correct.
Catches up.
Well, I don't know of them getting an average of 4% a year over 4 years. And secondly,
That actually is included in the study that we gave you, is their current.
well, here's
contract.
I'll go back to the
Their
same
current
question.
increases.
If what you're doing isn't working, what you offered isn't working, it doesn't matter if you're number one. If you can't hire anybody,
But I just
you
don't-
got to pay the rate that will hire people.
Understand that principle.
And so the pay study, we disagree on where it's at, because we can look at all the total compensation, the cost of living, and all those factors. Austin is slowly slipping back, but it wouldn't even matter because you can't fill the classes at what you're offering, and what you're putting on the table will not achieve that. That's the truth. So if I got to pay $20 an hour to get someone to come to Wendy's, and I'm offering 15, I can't fill it, well, then you're going to pay 20 or you're not going to have them. What you're offering and what you're paying is not filling the classes to the rate of which we need to catch up.
I understand that argument.
Okay, well,
I
I'm
was
telling you.
merely observing.
Well,
that
then
the members of this department are not behind the other cities in Texas.
I believe they are in many places.
Thank you for the
Well-
candid feedback.
And I'll see you on November 1st if you decide to show up.
We will come back in a minute if that's okay.
Well, all right, take your break, then we'll take ours. Why don't you just text me when you're ready?